Welcome to the I Am Eden podcast. Eden is not just a place, it's a state of being. It is the consciousness of abundance, a mindset rooted in divine purpose. In this series, we embark on a journey to live in the flow of the true Garden of Eden, a life of flourishing and deliberate creation. I Am Eden is a movement, a platform to provide clarity, awaken vision, and ignite divine inspiration. We invite you into this sanctuary of reflection and discovery. Welcome to Eden.
In this episode of I Am Eden, we discuss the idea of God in the return to Eden. In seeking new life and receiving the desires of our heart, we need to seek the source of all things, God. So who and what is God? How do we describe this entity? How do we relate with it? And how can we commune with it in our return to Eden? Who is God? As we look at the universal concept of God, we discover many variations of it. Some call it the source or source energy, the creator, the universe, or the divine. In Eden, we express this God energy in many additional ideas. We call it the Star of Bethlehem, the living waters, the whisper in the storm, the house on the rock, the true vine, the light that never fades, the light of life, the open gate, the garden of grace, the promise, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Though there are many other names that we give to the source energy, today we focus on three key ideas of God. God the beginning and the end, God the potter, and God the good and gentle shepherd. Let's start with God the beginning. Genesis 1 verse 1 reads, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." So we see the mention of God the Creator in the very beginning. Therefore, in Eden, we find God at the start of all things. For example, imagine the dawn of a new day. As the sun rises, it brings with it opportunities for a better future, and our hopes and dreams come alive for what the day will bring. A new day also brings with it the known and unknown, and desires of what is possible and impossible. In the start of a new day, we find all things, and in all the beginnings lies God. Even those that start the day in mourning and grief, or in pain, challenges, and failures, in all of it, we find God. Deuteronomy 6 verse 4 reads, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one." In Hebraic thought, this oneness of God isn't just about singularity, it's about unity. It signifies the unity of God within Himself. This oneness of God represents His completeness, His wholeness within Himself as the unified whole. God is the giver of all things, the source of everything. Think about the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night. This concept shows God as two opposite elements or forces, one that carries coolness and shade, and the other that carries warmth and light. And yet both these forces serve a purpose in creating the whole, and both work together in perfect harmony to guide and protect his people in different moments, in different spaces, in the day and in the night. In the same way, this oneness calls us to see God in everything, in joy and in sorrow, in goodness and in grief. So as each new day begins, regardless of our circumstances and no matter what we're facing, we find God, because He's the beginning of all things. So as the sun rises, God is. Now let's look at God as the end. But first, let's explore the Hebraic perspective of time. Unlike the Greco-Roman culture, which views time as a linear event with a beginning and an end, the ancient Hebrews viewed time as a cycle from generation to generation, with each generation as a continuation of the other. So if we imagine time in a circular format, this means that at every end there is a beginning, and in every beginning there is an end. And herein lies the idea of God as the beginning and the end. Let's take the example of the seasons that trees go through in their transformation. There is summer, autumn, winter, and spring. These seasons continue endlessly, with a new season starting as the other season ends, and the cycle continues with no indication of what season comes first or last. It is a continuous unfolding of life, day after day and season after season, to eternity. And such is God. In God lies not only a beginning but an end, and within each end lies a beginning. So for every beginning there must be an end, and for every end there is a beginning. So as we close doors and change chapters, new doors and opportunities arise. As our past comes to an end and former things pass away, new avenues begin and new things spring forth. Old life gives way to new life, and seasons come and go. Even within every man's heart lies the completeness of seasons. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 11 reads, "He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart, yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end." So in each and every one of us lies the blueprint of who we are to eternity. The fullness of our purpose lies inside of us, and the seed of our calling is found within us. And we are a constant and endless unfolding of God to eternity. The second idea of God is God as the potter. The idea of God as the potter is shown in Isaiah 64 verse 8, which reads, "I am the potter, you are the clay." God is described as the potter who molds the clay to what he envisions it to be. We see the same idea in Jeremiah 18 verse 6 that reads, "You are in my hands, just like clay in the potter's hands." In Eden, the idea of God as the potter is profound. Its weight lies not only in the vision of the potter for the clay, but the essence of the idea lies in the recognition that it is the potter that gives meaning to the clay. Outside of the potter, clay remains only as is. It is the potter that brings forth his vision and purpose for the clay. It is the potter that knows the type of clay it is, its origins, its strength and weaknesses, and its uses. Jeremiah 1 verse 5 reads, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." So only the potter has the true understanding of the clay, and as such, only the potter can mold the clay for it to fulfill a purpose that he has willed for it. Outside of the potter, the clay cannot be what it was created to be. Now imagine this for a second. Imagine the potter created the clay to fulfill the purpose of a cup. But if the clay does not know the potter or does not know his will for it, it can choose to work as a plate. Now imagine for a second a cup that presents itself as a plate. Think about the unending sense of being unfulfilled and that constant feeling of unworthiness because the cup is not able to carry food when in actual fact the potter built it to carry drink. So without the potter, we get trapped in lives and choices that are not aligned to not only our gifts or talents or our calling, but most importantly, we get stuck in lives that are not aligned to our design. Lives that do not cultivate the seed that is inside of us. The truth is, only the potter knows your design. Only the potter knows your purpose. And it is through the potter that you find a life of fulfillment. Finally, we look at God, the good and gentle shepherd. Let me share this idea in a story. There was once a shepherd who walked among the hills, his eyes always searching. His flock moved around him, but his heart was always aware of the one who wandered, the one who strayed too far. When he noticed one missing, he followed it. He searched through the bushes, called into the valleys, climbed the rocky places, all for the sake of the one who was lost. And when he found it, trembling and alone, he lifted it into his arms and carried it home with a voice full of love. Because no distance, no darkness, no danger was too great to keep him from those in his care. The good and gentle shepherd did not rest until every one of his flock was safe. God is the good and gentle shepherd who walks amongst the hills, guiding and watching you with love. His voice is steady and calming. His sheep know his voice and they follow him. When you follow him, you feel safe, knowing that no matter where you go, you will always be found. And as you rest in the warmth of the meadow, you are always cared for. John 14 verse 27 reads, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid." So with God as the good and gentle shepherd, we are completely at peace. And that is the story of God the Good Shepherd. In our return to Eden, we are not just finding a place, we are finding our way back home. Back to the one who was there when we took our first breath, who shaped us with his hands and who has never stopped calling us by name. He is the beginning and the end, the potter who mends our brokenness, and the shepherd who searches for us when we're lost. Even when we've wandered, even when we've forgotten who we are, he has never stopped watching, never stopped waiting. His love is unwavering. His arms are always open. And when we finally surrender, when we let ourselves be found, we realize we were never abandoned. We were always his. So as we return to Eden, as we step into the fullness of who we were created to be, we are met with the greatest truth of all. We were never forsaken, never alone. In his presence, we are whole. In his embrace, we are home. And that home is Eden. Eden is not just a place. It is the divine communion we share with God, the eternal home where our souls truly belong. It is a space where we are truly one with God and we are God. Welcome to Eden.
Thank you for listening to the I Am Eden podcast. We invite you to share your thoughts and insights through messages and voice notes. Don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring content that nurtures your spirit and guides your path. Thank you for being part of our Eden community. Have a divine and inspired journey. Welcome to Eden.